"Please, buy me and take me away," whispered the chained girl with trembling voice. The sun hung mercilessly in the cloudless sky, casting long shadows across the dusty expanse of the Arizona Territory. It was a cruel afternoon in the year 1886, a time when the last echoes of the Apache Wars had faded to a whisper, and the small, desperate towns clung to life like dying embers in the unforgiving landscape. To the west, the red rock mesas rose like ancient sentinels against the horizon, their peaks shrouded in a haze that might have been dust or the memory of forgotten battles. My worn boots kicked up small clouds with each step, the red dirt staining the leather and settling on my faded buckskin jacket. At 65, I carried myself with the quiet weariness of a man who'd seen too much of this land's cruelty to be surprised by it. The lines on my face were etched by the desert sun, and a lifetime of squinting at horizons that held more ghosts than promise. Once a guide, a hunter, a man who believed in the frontier's simple code, I now made my living trapping and trading, moving between settlements like a phantom of better, or perhaps just simpler, times. The ache in my bones and the phantom pain of old wounds were a constant reminder that the past was never truly buried. If you enjoy the story, hit that subscribe button right away, and if you don't, then just hit the like button anyway to keep more Wild West love stories coming. The day had started like any other. The morning mist had clung to the canyons, and the silence, as always, felt heavier than the weight of a saddle. I'd set my traps for rabbits and coyote in the foothills of the Chiricahua Mountains, a place where the Apache once made their stand, and where a man could still feel the echoes of their passing. The memory was a constant companion, a ghost that rode on my shoulder, a young woman with eyes as dark as the desert night, a boy with a laugh like a bubbling stream. They weren't my blood, but they were my family. A family I had failed to protect in the bloody chaos of the Apache campaigns. That failure was a wound that never healed, a reason I chose this lonely, isolated existence. It was mid-afternoon when the first sound broke the silence, the distant thud of hooves on hardpan, followed by the muffled shouts of men. It wasn't the sound of a patrol or a hunting party. It was the frantic, panicked rhythm of a chase. My instincts, honed by decades of survival, told me to melt into the shadows, to mind my own business. My business was with the ghosts of the past, not the living sins of the present. I was an old man, and the world had moved on, leaving me to my quiet, self-imposed exile. But as the sound grew closer, cutting through the stillness like a jagged blade, I couldn't ignore it. I moved to the cover of a cluster of boulders, my old Winchester in my hands, its weight a familiar comfort. I peered through a narrow gap in the rocks and saw them, a group of 4 men on horseback, their faces hard and cruel, wearing the distinctive silver skull emblems of Baron Sterling's outfit. He was a man who made his fortune in the dirt and blood of the new frontier, a man who trafficked in everything from gold claims to human lives. I'd heard whispers of his business, selling native women and children to work in the mining camps and brothels, and they were chasing a girl, Ayanna. She ran with a desperate grace that was both beautiful and heartbreaking. Her buckskin dress, torn and stained, was a stark contrast to the red dirt she ran on. Her long black hair flew behind her like a raven's wing, and her bare feet kicked up dust with each pounding step. But it was her face that twisted my gut, a face not of fear, but of sheer, unyielding defiance. A face that reminded me of another girl, a lifetime ago. The men rode hard, their whips cracking the air. One of them, a thick-necked brute, aimed his rifle at her. My fingers tightened on the Winchester. Every fiber of my being screamed for me to stay hidden, to let the world turn without my interference. It wasn't my fight. But then, as the man's rifle came to his shoulder, something broke inside me. It was the same cold, impotent fury I'd felt on the day I'd found my adopted family's camp, a rage I had buried for years. I couldn't let it happen again. Not this time. I rose from the rocks and brought the Winchester to my shoulder. My old hands were as steady as they'd ever been. The rifle barked once, the sound echoing off the canyon walls. The bullet didn't hit the man. It hit his horse, a clean shot to the leg. The animal went down with a scream, sending its rider sprawling in the dust. The other 3 men reined in their horses, their heads swiveling, trying to find the source of the shot. The girl, Ayanna, stumbled to a halt, her eyes wide as she looked from the fallen man to the rocks where I stood. "Show yourself, old man," one of them shouted, his hand on his Colt. I didn't answer. I just levered another round into the chamber. They were outnumbered and confused. They had no idea who or what they were dealing with. The last thing I wanted was a gunfight, but I wouldn't let them take her. For a long, tense moment, we held our positions. Then, another shot rang out, this one from behind them. It was Ayanna. She had grabbed the fallen rider's discarded rifle and was now aiming it at the 3 remaining men. It was a foolish, desperate act, but it showed a fire that burned bright despite her ragged state. "Get out of here," she screamed, her voice raw with fury, "or I swear I will kill you myself." The men scoffed, but a flicker of uncertainty crossed their faces. They weren't dealing with a panicked girl anymore. They were dealing with a cornered animal, and they had no idea what was waiting for them in the rocks. They had what they wanted, the girl, but now there was a complication. They knew Baron Sterling wouldn't be pleased, but a live girl was better than a dead one. "We'll be back, old man," one of them said, a promise that sounded more like a threat. "Sterling doesn't forget." They rode off, leaving their fallen comrade to limp along behind them. I watched them go until they were just dust on the horizon. Then I lowered the rifle and turned my attention to the girl. She was still standing, but her body was trembling. Her rifle pointed at the empty space where the men had been. As I approached, she turned the rifle on me, her eyes filled with a primal, desperate fear. "I won't hurt you," I said, my voice low and calm. I held my hands out, empty, and let the rifle hang loose by my side. "I'm not with them." She didn't lower the rifle. Her gaze was as hard as flint, assessing me with an unnerving intensity. "Why did you help me?" she asked, her voice a rough whisper. "Men like you don't help. Men like me don't like seeing people bought and sold," I replied, a cold edge to my voice. "Now, are you going to keep that rifle on me, or are you going to come with me before they realize they were bluffed?" She hesitated, then slowly, hesitantly, lowered the rifle. That's when I saw it, a deep gash on her arm and a festering wound on her leg, wrapped in a tattered cloth. The desperation in her eyes was born not just of fear, but of pain and exhaustion. She was at her limit. Without a word, I led her to a small, hidden cave I used for supply storage. I had a pouch of herbs, clean water, and a fire kit. She sat on the cold rock floor, watching me with suspicion as I went about my work. I cleaned her wounds with water and a bit of whiskey, hersing when the alcohol hit the open flesh, but she didn't cry out. Her silence was more eloquent than any words. After I had bandaged her, I gave her a piece of jerky and a canteen of water. She devoured them as if she hadn't eaten in days. "My name is Silas," I said quietly, once she had finished. She didn't offer her own name. She just sat in the dim light of the cave, her eyes fixed on the entrance, a hunted animal waiting for the next predator. But the silence in the cave was different from the silence of the desert. It was a silence of peace, a quiet sanctuary from a world that wanted to tear her apart. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Thank you for saving me, Silas. I was a fool to try to run from them with this." She pulled a small, worn leather pouch from her dress. Inside, a rolled-up piece of paper, a map. "This is why they want me. They want this back." She unwrapped the paper. It was a crude map, but the markings were clear: a hidden canyon, a symbol of a pickaxe and a skull, and an X. A treasure map. "What is it?" I asked, my voice low. "Not gold. It's more than gold," she said. "It's a map to the secret gold mine of the Apache. My family was one of the last Apache to know the location. Sterling, he knows about it. He knows it is a weapon. He wants to wipe all of us out, and he wants all of it for himself. He killed my entire family, my father, my mother. He wants to kill me too, because I have the map." My blood ran cold. The past was never truly gone. It had returned to haunt me again, to ask me to pay for my mistakes. The ghosts of my past were rising from the graves. "Listen, girl. You understand that they will be back, and they will bring more men. They are not to be trifled with. You will not have another chance like this. If you give me that map, I will take it to the marshal in Tucson. I will tell them everything. They will do something about it. I will keep you safe, I said. No, Silas. You don't understand. This is a weapon. This is my weapon. I will not give it to anyone. They will never stop until I am dead. I will not go to the marshal. They are with him. He has friends in high places. They will protect him. I will not give it to you. I will not give it to anyone, she said. Her face was as cold as stone, a stark contrast to the fear that had been there only moments before. I knew she was telling the truth. I knew what kind of man Sterling was, and I knew what kind of world we were living in. I knew that the past would never truly die. I looked at the young woman in front of me, at the stubborn defiance in her eyes, and I knew that our destinies were now inextricably linked. You don't trust me, do you? I asked. No, Silas, I don't. I don't trust anyone, she replied. I know, I said. I looked at her, at the raw courage in her eyes, and a decision formed in my mind. A decision that went against everything I had believed in, everything I had lived by for the last 2 decades. Then we'll do it my way, I said, looking out at the sun setting over the desert, painting the sky in shades of orange and crimson. We ride at first light. We'll find a way out of this together. Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise, and a hint of something else, hope sparking in their depths. You don't have to do this, she said. I know, I replied. But I must. Because if I don't, I will be haunted forever. She didn't say anything else. She simply nodded. And in that silent understanding, a new journey began, one that would either lead to salvation or damnation. But for the first time, in a very long time, I had a purpose beyond just surviving. I had a reason to fight, a reason to live. The dawn broke with a ruthless indifference, painting the mesas in shades of pink and fiery orange. We had moved through the night, but the silence of the desert was deceptive. I knew Sterling's men were out there, a pack of hounds on our trail, and they wouldn't stop until they had their prey. We rode hard, pushing our horses to their limits, using the winding canyons and hidden ravines to mask our trail. Ayanna, despite her injuries, rode with a fierce determination that mirrored my own. She was no longer just a victim. She was a partner, a survivor. They're gaining on us, she said, her voice strained. Her head was tilted back, her eyes scanning the horizon, an instinct I knew was honed by a lifetime of knowing how to spot danger. The dust. It's too much. I nodded, my eyes also scanning the horizon. The heat haze was thick, but I could see it, a faint cloud of dust far behind us. They were closer than I'd thought. We had to do something, and we had to do it now. Box Canyon, I said, pointing to a narrow opening in the rock face ahead. It's a dead end, but we can make a stand there. We can use the narrow passage to bottleneck them. They can't get us all at once. She looked at me, her eyes questioning, but she didn't argue. She trusted me, but I didn't know why. Baron Sterling, he's a vengeful man, she said. He will not stop. Then we will not let him find us, I replied. We rode on, and soon we were in the canyon, the towering red rock walls on either side of us. We dismounted, uncinching our saddles, and led our horses to the spring I knew was hidden inside. We drank, and then we hid. Ayanna, with her knowledge of the land, showed me a small crevice in the canyon wall, a natural ambush point, one that even a hardened tracker would have a hard time spotting. We sat there, waiting, our rifles at the ready. The waiting was the hardest part. The silence was thick with tension, and the only sound was the thumping of our hearts in our chests. Ayanna took my hand, a gesture of silent comfort. I looked at her and felt something shift inside of me. I, who had lived a lifetime of solitude, was not alone. Then they came. We saw them first, a group of 8 men, including 2 of the men who had pursued Ayanna the day before. They were led by a man with a scarred face, a man I knew to be Sterling's right hand. They must have gone to Box Canyon, he said, his voice a low growl. It's the only place they could have gone. Let's go. We'll smoke them out. He and his men rode straight into the canyon. As they came closer, I could hear their jeering, their cruel laughter, a sound that made my blood run cold. Looks like we got them cornered, one of them said. My heart pounded in my chest. I knew they were wrong. They were the ones who were cornered, We were ready. On my signal, I whispered to Ayanna. She nodded, her hand gripping her rifle. Just as the men were about to ride into the canyon, a sound stopped them. The sound of a boy crying. "Help me, please," the voice cried out. "Please don't leave me here." My blood ran cold. It was a cry that was too real, too desperate. The men froze, their faces a mixture of confusion and curiosity. "Who is that?" one of them asked. The leader, the man with the scarred face, dismounted and walked toward the sound. He looked around, his eyes scanning the rocks and the canyons. And then he saw him, a young boy, no older than 12, tied to a cactus, his face streaked with tears and dirt. He was a Navajo boy, his eyes wide with a fear that I knew was not faked. "Please," the boy said. "My father. My father told me to find a man with a scar on his face. He said he would help me." The leader's eyes narrowed. He looked around again, his face a mask of suspicion. "It's a trick," one of his men said. "Don't trust him. He's a damn kid," the leader snarled. "He ain't a trick. He's just a damn kid. Just get him, and let's go." Ayanna looked at me, her eyes filled with a desperate plea. "Silas, we have to help him. We can't leave him there." My heart was in my throat. I knew this was a trap. Sterling was a master of manipulation, but how could I ignore the cry of a child? How could I leave him to his fate? The ghosts of my past were screaming in my ears, the ghost of a boy that I could not save. "Silas," Ayanna pleaded, "please. I know it's a trap, Ayanna. I know it," I said. "But we can't leave him." I looked at her, at the hope in her eyes, and I made a decision. It was a decision that would likely get us killed, but it was a decision that I knew I had to make. "When I fire, you go for the boy," I said. "You get him, and you run. You don't stop until you're safe." "What about you?" she asked. "I'll hold them off. Now go," I commanded. She nodded, her face grim. I raised my rifle and took aim. I didn't aim at the man with the scarred face. I aimed at his horse. I knew they wouldn't hurt the boy. They wouldn't want the boy to be killed. I fired, and the sound echoed through the canyon. The horse went down, and the men scattered, their guns at the ready. I fired again and again, keeping them pinned down. And Ayanna, she ran. She ran like a warrior, using the rocks for cover, her movements a blur. She reached the boy, cut his bonds, and pulled him to his feet. "Run," she yelled. "Run now." The boy, he didn't run. He just stood there, his eyes wide with fear. Ayanna grabbed him, pulled him to her chest, and started to run. She was going to run, and I was going to hold them off. I was going to die. I knew it. Then, a voice cried out from behind me, a voice that was both a cry of triumph and of pain. "Silas!" It was the leader, and he was running toward me, his gun aimed at my chest. He had a look of victory on his face, but it was too soon. It was too soon for him to celebrate. I fired my last round. It wasn't enough. He was still standing. I was going to die. But then, a cry came from the mouth of the canyon, a war cry that was both ancient and modern. It was a group of Native American warriors, their faces painted for battle, their guns at the ready. They were led by an old man, a man with a face like a storm. He was the same man who had been tied to the cactus. He was a medicine man, a shaman. "Silas," he called out, "you have done well. You have proven yourself. We will help you now." The man with the scarred face, he didn't even have a chance to react. The Native American warriors descended on him, their guns blazing. He fell, his body riddled with bullets, his face a mask of shock and pain. The rest of the men, they didn't even try to fight. They just turned and ran, their horses a blur in the distance. The old man, the shaman, he walked toward me. He looked at me, and his eyes were filled with a strange mixture of admiration and sorrow. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me, and I knew what he was thinking. I knew that my life was now tied to his people. "You are not a man of this world, Silas. You are a man of the old world. You have a good heart. We will help you now." And with that, he touched my forehead. I felt a surge of energy, a warmth that I had not felt in years. The pain in my body, it was gone. My wounds were healed. I looked at Ayanna, and she was looking at me, her eyes filled with tears. "You have a good heart, Silas," she said. "You have a good heart." I had saved the boy, and in doing so, I had saved myself. I had found a new purpose, a new life. If you like Wild West love stories or Wild West stories, drop a bunch of 1 second and your place in the comments for the Wild West Love channel. Tell me where you're listening from, so I don't feel so alone out here. The medicine man, whose name I learned was Dakota, led us out of the canyon and into a small, hidden village nestled in the Red Rock Mesas. It was a place untouched by the white man's world, a sanctuary where ancient traditions still thrived. The people welcomed us with a quiet reverence, their faces a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. I was a man of the white world, but I had proven my worth in a way they understood through action, not words. Ayanna was taken to the shaman's hut, where she was treated for her injuries. I was given a place to rest, a small, quiet hut where I could finally let my guard down. But I couldn't rest. My mind was still reeling from the events of the day. The encounter in the canyon, the boy, Dakota and his people. I had walked into a trap, and I had been saved by a miracle. I had found a people that I thought no longer existed. Ayanna had found her people, and I had found a purpose. Dakota came to my hut later that night. He sat in silence, looking at me with those ancient eyes that seemed to see into my very soul. "You are not a man of this time, Silas," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Your heart is from the old world. You did not abandon the boy. You did not abandon your people. You chose to fight for what is right. I failed my people, Dakota, the ones I tried to save. A long time ago, a whole family, a whole village. I failed them. I don't know why, but I failed." I replied. "The past is a river, Silas," he said. "It flows on, but you do not have to drown in it. You can choose to swim to shore. You chose to swim. Now you are here, and you will be here to save Ayanna's people too." I knew he was right. I had been given a second chance, a chance to right the wrongs of the past. I had to face my past to move on. I had to face Sterling. "I have to go after him," I said. "He won't stop. Not until we're dead." Dakota nodded. "He will not. He is a man of darkness, a man of greed. You are a man of the light, a man of honor. But you cannot fight him alone. You need help. You need an army." "I don't have an army, Dakota," I replied. "You have the people who were wronged by him," he said. "You have the people who were stolen from, the people whose land was taken, the people whose families were killed. You have the people who want justice. You have the people that will rise up when they know that they can win. You must go to them." The next day, Ayanna came to me. She was dressed in the traditional clothes of her people, her face no longer filled with the terror of a hunted animal, but with the quiet strength of a woman who had found her home. "My people have healed me, Silas," she said. "Now I want to help you. I want to help you find justice. I will not go back to hiding. I will not be a victim anymore. I will not let my people suffer anymore. You shouldn't be a part of this, Ayanna. It's too dangerous." "I don't want to lose you," I said. "You already saved me once, Silas," she said. "Now let me help you. My people, they will help us too. We will fight for what is right. We will not be afraid anymore. We will not let him win. I am not a little girl anymore, Silas. I am a warrior. I am a woman who will fight for her people, and for the man who saved her." I looked at her, at the fire in her eyes, and I knew that she was right. I couldn't fight Sterling alone. I needed an army, and I had a good start. I had a woman who was a warrior. I had a medicine man who was a spiritual leader. I had a whole village who was ready to fight. "All right, Ayanna," I said. "We will do this together. But first, we must find help in the white world. We must find the law." "The law?" "Silas, you know the law is a friend of Sterling," she said. "Not all of them. Not the judge. I know a judge. A man who believes in justice. His name is Judge Sterling. He is in the town of Tombstone, a town full of men who were wronged by the law. He is in the heart of the lawlessness, but he is a man who is a man of law. He will help us." "I hope," I replied. We left the village at dawn, riding toward Tombstone. Ayanna was no longer a frightened girl. She was a woman on a mission. She was no longer a girl who needed saving. She was a woman who was ready to fight. "Hey there, friend, take a moment and get yourself a full glass of water. It's easy to forget, but staying hydrated is crucial for your health. Also, if you've been sitting for a while, do a quick lap around the room and give your eyes a break from the screen. Your body will thank you." We arrived in Tombstone, a town where the line between good and evil was a blur. The town was a magnet for men who were looking for trouble. Ayanna was not used to the city life, but she was brave. She was a woman who was a warrior, and she was not afraid. We went to the courthouse, a building that was a mockery of the law. We found Judge Brennan, a man with a face like a hawk and a voice that was a low rumble. He listened to our story with a stone face. "You are asking me to go against Baron Sterling," he said. "You are asking me to go against a man who is a friend of the law. You are asking me to go against a man who is a friend of the governor. You are asking me to go against a man who is a friend of the federal marshal. We are asking you to do what is right, Judge. We are asking you to fight for justice," I replied. He looked at Ayanna, his eyes filled with a strange mixture of admiration and pity. "And what do you have that will convince me to do what you are asking?" he said. Ayanna, she looked at me, and I knew what she was going to do. She took out the map that was the reason she was being hunted, the map that was the reason her family was killed. She put it on the table. "This is a map to the secret gold mine of the Apache," she said. "Baron Sterling wants it. He will stop at nothing to get it. He has killed for it. He has gone against his people for it. He wants to wipe us all out. But if you help us, we will give you the map, and you will bring him to justice, and you will show that the law is not a friend of the wicked. You will show that the law is a friend of the just." Lo, the judge looked at the map, his eyes wide with surprise. He looked at me, then at Ayanna. He looked at her with a look of awe and respect. He was a man of the law, and he was a man of justice. "I will help you," he said. "I will fight for you. I will not let a man like Baron Sterling go unpunished. I will not let a woman like you suffer for nothing. I will help you find justice." The judge's promise was the first domino to fall. News of the impending showdown spread through the territory like wildfire. I had been a ghost, a relic of a bygone era, but now I was a symbol. Ayanna was no longer just a hunted girl. She was a beacon of hope, a living testament to what a man could stand for. The people, those who had suffered in silence under Sterling's brutal reign, began to rally to our cause. Farmers whose land had been stolen, miners who had been cheated, families who had lost loved ones, they all found their way to us. We met at the old Martinez Ranch, a place abandoned and forgotten. It became our headquarters, a sanctuary where we trained, planned, and prepared for the coming war. It was a motley crew, not an army of seasoned fighters, but an assembly of souls broken by injustice and now ready to reclaim their dignity. Judge Brennan, with his solemn dignity, helped us organize, turning a mob into a cohesive force. He taught them the law, the right to defend themselves, the parameters of a legal reckoning. "We are not an army of vengeance," he said, his voice echoing in the dry desert air. "We are an army of justice. We will not take a life unless it is absolutely necessary. We will not let hate rule our hearts. We will not become the very thing we despise." Oh, Ayanna was a natural leader, her quiet strength inspiring confidence. She taught the men how to use the land, how to move silently, how to survive on what the desert offered. She taught them to look at the land not as a resource to be plundered, but as a living thing to be respected. I taught them how to fight, how to shoot, how to use cover, how to survive a gunfight. "Sterling is a predator," I said, my voice low and hard. "He preys on the weak, but now we are not weak. We are strong. We are a force to be reckoned with. We will not let him win. We will not let him get away with what he has done." The day of the reckoning was set. It was to be a showdown, not in the back alleys of some forgotten town, but in the heart of Sterling's fortress, his hacienda, a place he called his kingdom. He was a man who believed in his own invincibility, a man who thought he could not be touched. But he was wrong. We were going to show him that he was wrong. "I will go with you, Silas," Ayanna said. "I will not let you go alone. I will be your shield. I will be your sword. No, Ayanna. It's too dangerous. I don't want to lose you. You have to stay here. With your people, I replied. Silas, I will not let you go alone. We have come this far together. We have been a team. We have been a family. I will not let you go alone. I will fight with you. I will die with you, she said. I will not let you die, Ayanna, I said, my voice filled with emotion. I will not let you die. She smiled, a sad, beautiful smile. And I will not let you die. We will live, and we will be together. We rode at dawn, a small army of men, our faces grim, our hearts filled with a fierce determination. We were not looking for a fight. We were looking for a reckoning. We were looking for justice. When we arrived at the hacienda, Sterling was ready for us. He stood on the porch, flanked by his men, a look of arrogant amusement on his face. He didn't have a weapon in his hand. He was a man who believed in his own power, a man who believed that he was above the law. Well, 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 he said, his voice a mocking drawl. Look what the cat dragged in. An old man, a squaw, and a mob of farmers. You think you can stop me, Silas? You think you can take me on? I'm not here to take you on, Sterling. I'm here to give you a choice. You can surrender, and you will face justice, or you will die, I replied. Justice? You speak of justice to me? I am the law, old man. I am the law of this land. I am the man who brings order. I am the man who brings prosperity. I am the man who brings justice. I am the law, he sneered. Then, Ayanna. She stepped forward. She looked him in the eye, and her voice was a quiet whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 years of pain and suffering. You are not the law, Sterling. You are a thief. You are a murderer. You are a man who steals from the innocent. You are a man who kills for a map. You are a man who has no honor. You have no dignity. You have no soul. You are not a man. You are a monster. Sterling's face went white. He looked at her with a look of pure, unadulterated rage. He raised his hand to strike her, but before he could, I drew my gun and fired. The bullet didn't hit him. It hit the ground a few inches from his foot. He froze, his eyes wide with shock. Don't you dare, I said, my voice a low growl. Don't you dare touch her. He looked at me, then at the men behind me, then at the women and children who had gathered to watch the showdown. He knew he was outnumbered. He knew he was outmaneuvered. He knew he was finished. Take him, I said to the men behind me. Take him and his men, and don't touch his gold. He has no more power. He has no more dignity. He has no more friends. Oh, the men, they swarmed him. They took him and his men. They disarmed them. They tied them up, and they took them to the jail. They took them to face justice. You are finished, Sterling, I said. You will never hurt anyone again. He looked at me with a look of pure, unadulterated hatred. I will get out, Silas. I will find you. I will kill you, and I will kill her. I will get my gold. You will never win, he snarled. You have already lost, Sterling, I replied. You have already lost. The gold, it's not even yours. I looked at Ayanna. She looked at me. She smiled. A true smile. A beautiful smile. The kind of smile I had never seen on her face before. The smile of a woman who was finally free. The smile of a woman who was a warrior. If you're watching on TV, don't hesitate, grab your phone and hit subscribe to my channel so you'll never miss out on our amazing characters. The trial of Baron Sterling was a spectacle. News of his arrest and the rebellion of the people he had wronged traveled far and wide. The courtroom was packed and the atmosphere was electric. Ayanna, my beautiful warrior, testified with a quiet dignity that belied her past suffering. She recounted Sterling's cruelty, the murder of her family, the years of torment she had endured. Her words were a river of truth that washed away the lies Sterling had built his empire on. He is a man of darkness, she said, her voice clear and strong. A man of greed, a man who has no soul. He deserves to be punished. He deserves to face justice. He deserves to face the truth. I testified too, speaking of the chase through the desert, the gunfight, the way Sterling had used a child as bait. I told the court about the gold mine, about the map that was a weapon and the treasure that was a curse. The trial was long, but justice, in the end, was swift. Sterling was found guilty on all counts: murder, theft, fraud, human trafficking. Judge Brennan sentenced him to hang. The town erupted in cheers, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The ghosts of the past were finally at peace. After the trial, Ayanna and I walked out of the courtroom. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. We stood there, hand in hand, looking at the horizon. We were free. We had done it. We had fought for justice, and we had won. "What will we do now, Silas?" she asked, her voice a soft whisper. "The gold, what will we do with it?" "We'll give it back to your people, Ayanna. It's not ours. It's a curse. It's a curse that has brought so much pain and suffering. It's a curse that has brought so much death. It's a curse that has brought so much hatred. We will give it back to your people, and we will let them decide what to do with it," I replied. She smiled, a sad, beautiful smile. "Thank you, Silas. Thank you for doing what is right. Thank you for not being like him. Thank you for not being like the men who killed my family. If you've made it this far, I know you're a true fan of WWL. From the bottom of my heart, I wish your day is filled with health and happiness, and may a little stroke of luck find you in the next 15 minutes. Don't forget to share it with me in the comment." We didn't ride into the sunset. We rode toward a new dawn, a new life, a new beginning. We rode back to the old Martinez ranch, the place that had been our sanctuary, the place that had been our home. We sat by the fire, looking at the stars, listening to the silence of the night. "Silas," she said, her voice a whisper, "do you feel it? The freedom? The peace?" "I do, Ayanna. I do," I said. "I have never felt so free. I have never felt so at peace. I have never felt so happy. I have never felt so alive." "Ziu." She rested her head on my shoulder. "I love you, Silas," she said. "I love you more than words can say. You gave me a new life. You gave me a new hope. You gave me a new family." "I love you too, Ayanna," I said, the words rusty from disuse but true. "I love you too, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to build a life with you. I want to build a family with you. I want to build a future with you." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, Silas. Yes, 1,000 times yes." We stayed at the ranch, and we started to build our lives. We didn't need the gold. We didn't need a fortune. We just needed each other. We built a home, a small, humble cabin that was our sanctuary. We raised horses, and we farmed the land. We lived a simple life, a life that was filled with love and peace. The Wild West love story of Silas and Ayanna became a legend. It was a story told around campfires and in saloons, a story of an old cowboy who found a new purpose in life, a story of a Native American girl who found a new home in the heart of a man who was once broken. It was a story of hope, redemption, and a new beginning. It was a story of cowboy love stories that had a happy ending. It was a story of Wild West love that was a miracle. Today's story is about pains that seemed to have no way out until a small ray of light changed everything. Do you believe that, even in the darkest times, there's always a miracle waiting at the end of the road? And if deep down you still believe that God is watching over you, quietly arranging everything, then right now, leave a comment "Amen" below this video. Because who knows, at the very moment you write it, a blessing may quietly find its way into your life.